Welcome back to the PhotoCEO podcast, where hosts Megan Mondrell and Frederica Gullickson teach you how to build your photo business by listening to your intuition, taking empowered action, and embodying the PhotoCEO mindset. Welcome back. Wait, what is this podcast called?
Well, that is to be determined.
Okay, because I'll just say welcome back.
I was actually going to ask you, just say welcome back, because this is going to be our second episode. But I was actually going to ask you, should we name this the Photo Business Design Podcast, or should we call it PhotoCEO Podcast? The PhotoCEO
PhotoCEO
podcast
is like way more badass.
I think so too. Okay, so
welcome back. Today, we are very excited to talk about a topic, which is the difference between being a photographer and a photo CEO. I'm Megan, and I'm here with Frederica. And I would like to just open the floor for you, Ricky, to talk about the difference between a photo CEO and a photographer for you.
So I think that there's really 5 key differences between what it means to be just a photographer and to be a photo CEO. Those 5 things are high integrity, intention, kindness, intuition, and lastly, empowered action. Mm-hmm. So if we wanted to just like run through what a little blurb about each of those means, and then we can kind of just like have some conversation about them. When I say high integrity, I mean, and you will agree with this too, it is not professional for a photographer to leave their clients and vendors and business partners or people that they're collaborating with wondering why they haven't gotten back to them, if they've been emailing or texting or calling to like stay in communication. Not following up on communication is not what it means to be a photo CEO. Yeah. If you're a photo CEO, your clients are never left wondering why you haven't gotten back to them or where their photos are. And I think that communication is so undervalued and underrated in this particular industry, in the photo industry, I mean, and that's one of the things that we want to address, so that, you know, photographers realize like communication needs to be had if you want to have an actual successful photo business. Because if you aren't communicating and getting back to people in a timely manner, or when you say you will, you are putting your reputation on the line and the reputation of your business.
Yeah, exactly. I think that honestly, when you are wanting to have that really awesome word of mouth, you need to make sure that you follow through on things that you say that you're going to follow through on. And I think that it's very common in the photography world, because people are treating it more like a hobby than a business, for people to promise things and underdeliver, whether that means that they have so many little knick-knacky things in their packages so that it looks like higher value, but they don't fully deliver on those things. Or again, as you said, just having poor communication skills with either their clients or other vendors. I agree.
Yeah, for sure. So the next one would be intention. And what I mean by intention is, for example, if you're a photo CEO, you're going to sit down before the year is over and really start planning what you want to accomplish in the next year. And I find that a lot of photographers, and here's the difference again, a lot of photographers just kind of wait for the external world to give them business, and they don't necessarily take proactive action on what they want to accomplish or how they want to move their businesses forward. And that is to their detriment, right? Like there is a way to like survive in this business and have money coming in just based on word of mouth and people booking with you. But if you don't have a plan in place to like set goals for yourself and what you can do to accomplish your goals, then you're not necessarily like taking your business to the next level. You're just kind of like waiting for other people to determine what your business is going to look like.
I agree. And my word for 2021 is actually intentional. And so I have a huge fire lit under me about this topic and this word. And I think that it's more than just making goals for yourself. I think that it's designing your life. I think that that's very overlooked, and having that control to do what you want with your business and what you want with your life understanding that it does come with a level of effort and a level of hard work is very much overlooked. So that's an
And
awesome
self
one.
accountability as well,
Yeah.
right? Like self accountability is huge. And it kind of goes back into that integrity part. There's a difference between being integral to others, which is extremely important, but the more challenging piece I find is actually being self-integral
Mm-hmm.
and following through on what you say you're going to do, even when other people aren't there to hold you accountable. Um, so the third difference between being a photographer and being a photo CEO is the kindness aspect. Now, you and I both know people who in our business, will talk negatively about clients who really value that photographer.
Yeah.
So when I say kindness, I mean, you are not, if you're going to be a photo CEO, you can't go into your business thinking that you can be bad mouthing people, even if it's like quietly and behind their back, because whether or not they hear it, the universe is going to hear it, and they're going to hear you dissing the people that are giving you business and helping your business thrive and survive. And I mean, I'm not going to be all preachy about this one, but really, like, think about how you would feel if you were a bride and you overheard your photographer who you kind of fangirl over kind of making snide remarks about what you look like on your wedding day, or
Yeah.
what size you are, which we've heard of other photographers talking about. And
Yeah.
it's that whole piece of you really need to respect the clients and vendors and people who are helping you grow your business, because if you don't, again, your reputation is on the line.
And I think that that comes back to the fact that when you're treating it more in the photography realm, more of a creative realm, it's so heavily based on, and you put so much pressure on yourself to have these perfect artistic images. And I think that along with that, some photographers and society to a degree puts a little bit of a limit on what those people should look like to then have a perfect image. And when you take the focus away from that and onto being able to serve your couples and serve the wedding industry in a better way, and look more at the business aspect of things, you aren't as concerned about being pressured to have that perfect Instagram and being pressured to have those images where people are going to fangirl over. Because personally, I think that friends are better than fans.
100% agree with that. And that's where that word of mouth and relationship piece really can, be a huge backbone of your business thriving and, like, turning your business into a successful career long term.
Mm-hmm.
So the fourth piece is intuition. And when I'm thinking about intuition in terms of being a photo CEO, what I mean by that is, are you really taking the time to unplug from all of your devices and unplug from looking at what all the other photographers are doing, and really just get quiet with yourself long enough to let your creativity and your ideas come through you? And so that's kind of, I know for myself, when I take time to get quiet, that's when I have my best ideas, and that's when I separate myself in a competitive market. That's when, ideas come to me, like this one with our photo business design and photo CEO podcast and courses that we're creating. It's like that was created in the silence. There's this phrase that I really like that it goes, and I don't know who said this, but it goes, the masters teach in the silence, meaning, your I don't know if you want to call it a muse or your intuition or your creativity or your higher self. That's when they come through you and give you these really good ideas that allow you to separate yourself creatively, so that you're not actually in competition with anybody else.
I agree. I think that another big thing to that too is being able to have a level of trust with yourself. So I think that there's a learning process to be able to accept that kind of intuition into yourself and to hear it, but there's a whole other level of acting on it, because it is scary to go against the crowd because nobody else has shown that that has worked before. Nobody else has shown that people appreciate maybe that style or that new idea. But that's really, I think, one thing that you're really passionate about, Ricky, is just being able to trust those things and act on them, because otherwise you're just going to be another person following the herd.
Exactly. And that leads into the last section, right? Empowered action.
Yeah.
This is the thing, like all of the good ideas that you have and all of the ways that you can really build a business aren't going to happen unless you're willing to take action that is messy and scary, and you're going to have to work through your fear and do things anyway. So empowered action, just it means that you have the idea and you act on it. You don't sit there and overthink it. You really learn to build that muscle of like, oh, this is a great idea, let me just take a step in that direction and see what unfolds. And the more that you do that, the more clarity you are going to gain from it. So there's another phrase that I like, and it's action breeds clarity. You're not going to be able to figure everything out before you start moving in that direction. I think a lot of us, especially as artists, we get into perfectionist mode a lot.
Oh yeah.
And it's, I mean, it's one of those traps, you know. This has to be perfect before it goes out, you know. I have to create the
Mhm.
perfect offer, I have to create the perfect image before I can put it on Instagram. And it's like, no, all you need to do is just take a little bit of action and do the best that you can, and then just not judge yourself if you have to like course correct at some point.
Exactly. Perfectionism breeds procrastination. And
Yes, yeah.
I think that that's just something that so many people fall victim to and almost accept it as part of their personality. Like, I'm a perfectionist. I just don't do things quickly.
Yeah,
I'm a procrastinator. So no, I'm not going to do things quickly. And I think that that's huge in our society, is just accepting these labels as our identity instead of challenging it and leaning into some sort of tension to break free of that. And so
totally. And
I mean, for me, I think that my business was built off of mistakes and failure and learning from that. So it's a tool, in all honesty, to move yourself forwards in big ways.
exactly. And it's not easy at first, but the more that you just take action, the easier it becomes and the less fearful you are about what happens when you mess up.
Yep.
And I think too, like with that whole perfectionist thing, it's almost like a badge of honor when really it's an actual cage that keeps you stuck. It keeps
Yeah.
you small. And the thing that will, you know, take you to new levels and new heights, not only in your business, but in your personal life, is when you just decide to leap, right? Leap. And I guess that's where that phrase again comes from, leap of faith, right? You just kind of have to go for it and not worry about what anyone else is going to think or say or do, because at the end of the day, it's not about anyone else. It's about, do you want to create a life that you are happy with? It has nothing to do with anybody else. And that applies to photographers and photo business owners just as much as anybody else.
I agree. And one of my favorite quotes of all times that always gives me goosebumps is the quote where it's like, "Oh, but what if I fall? Oh, but darling, what if you fly?"
Yes, yeah, I love that one. I just like get goosebumps when I
Yeah, I
hear
know.
that phrase and when I see it, because sometimes I'll see it with like, you know, like a cartoon with like a little girl flying off of a cliff with like these heart
Oh,
balloons in her hand.
yes.
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah, so those are the five key differences that I would say separate photographers from photo CEOs who really take themselves and their businesses seriously. So, again, to just recap on them, they are high integrity, intention, kindness, intuition, and empowered action.
hmm
Um, do you have anything that you would add to that, Megan?
I think, just to kind of sum it up, a really good way to think about it. And one of the reasons why I love the descriptor photo CEO is because you're bringing yourself to a higher standard of business, like a CEO would. And not in the sense that you're going to be all hoity toity and talking professional all the time, but in the sense that that vibration that you're putting out into the world is at a higher level and therefore requires a higher level of, I guess, vibration back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree. And yeah, I like I said on a previous episode, it's about learning to take yourself seriously as a photographer and as a business owner first.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all fine and good to have a passion, but um, yeah, there's more to it. There's more to this industry than what most people are using it for. So
Exactly. There's
And
a sense of purpose behind the passion that I think a lot of people haven't even tapped into yet.
for sure. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's kind of everything for this episode. Would you agree?
I agree. Thanks so much, Ricky, for teaching us the differences between a photographer and a photo CEO.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Photo CEO podcast with your hosts, Frederica and Megan. We hope you enjoyed your deep dive into these tips and tricks on how to transform from photographer to photo CEO. If you liked this episode, we do have a personal request. We want to continue helping more photographers like you, so we'd love if you could leave us a 5-star review. This helps us reach more people, which means we can continue bringing you helpful content every week that helps you in your photo business. If you have any questions or would like to suggest a topic for the podcast, reach out to us by direct messaging us on Instagram at Photo Business Design or by sending us an email to hello@photobusinessdesign.com. Thanks for listening, and we hope that you have another great week in your photo business.